What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, alive, and I have a very special guest, John Cena. What's going on, John Cena? No, we have Dilly Vanilli. He's back once again. We are here to react live. This is the third live stream of the day, and I'm here to react, try something new and old, because we used to do this quite often back in the day as Dilly leaves, but he's coming back. So this is going to be an experience, but he's back, no worries. We're just going to give our thoughts live here of what stood out to us, the games we witnessed, we watched, what we paid attention to this week in the NFL, and we're going to carry that over into next week and into the playoffs. So, Dylan, first, without getting into specific games, what were you looking for from Week 17, and what were you most anticipating for this week's football?
You know, we have, obviously, in Week 17, there's a couple of games that don't really matter a whole lot, but then you have games that have playoff implications, opportunities for some teams to kind of prove themselves as we have 2 weeks left in the season. And so coming into today, I was really looking forward to certain performances, seeing, okay, is this team really legitimate, or is this team kind of faltering in its ways? And there were some teams that proved that, okay, they have a decent chance. They can step up. Like, for example, the Packers are trying to get that last playoff spot. They looked good. We'll get into their spot. And other teams, it looks a little sketchy. They might be on a little bit of a downhill, and you don't want to be in that spot right now. So yeah, we're going to get into more of the specifics of that, but I was really looking forward to seeing just how these teams were going to respond, knowing that we're in the second to last week of the season.
All right, so let's just get into it. Let's start with the early slate. In terms of the two games I was most looking forward to, I think it's kind of obvious. New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins, Patriots still fighting for a playoff spot, and the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Carolina Panthers. So beginning with the Patriots-Dolphins game, Patriots end up winning the game 23-21 over the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins starting Teddy Bridgewater end up having to go to their third string quarterback in the game because Teddy actually left the game. New England had numerous injuries in the secondary. I didn't even know who these guys were. Yeah, huge game for playoff chances, but Miami has been a team that everybody was kind of all over during the middle of the year. Oh, they look so good. They're tantalizing. New England's been this boring, plodding, really gross team to watch all year long, but now they have an opportunity to make the playoffs. Both teams still have a chance next week. In terms of your thoughts, Dylan, from this game, if you saw any of it, what were your overall reaction to the Patriots getting the win over the Dolphins?
Yeah, I was paying attention to this game closely. Obviously, I wasn't able to watch it as the national market, but I was able to watch it on a live stream for some parts of it. And what I saw was, obviously, the Dolphins were coming in with Teddy Bridgewater. That's going to set them back more than they want to because he's not Tua. He's just not that kind of QB, and he hasn't even played that well compared to what Teddy B used to be as. But then when you lose him, you got to go to the quarterback number 3, Skylar Thompson. Now you're really set up because how many plays in the playbook do you have for a guy like that to lead down the field against the Patriots defense that even though their corners are hurt, they can still do damage against you, especially the D-line. And so from that point on, I was like, man, I'm glad that they're putting up a fight, and it was a close game through and through, but just not able to get it done. They just kind of lost the power, and that's all it takes. And now the Patriots coming back up here, taking the spot now 8-8 on the year. Both teams are now 8-8. I wouldn't have expected that, obviously, from the Dolphins. I think this is 5 in a row, which
something like that.
that's about as worse as you could possibly get in the last week of the playoff or the last week of the regular season. But yeah, Mostert did good for the Dolphins. There are some positives, but overall, this is a very deflating loss for them and for the Patriots, who, like you said, have not looked very good all year in terms of watchability. They had one of their better performances today, getting the job done. So. I would say Patriots on the upswing, Dolphins not looking so hot.
Yeah, overall as a Patriots fan, I'm pleased with the performance overall. There's some things that you could certainly look at, especially offensively, going through some droughts throughout the game, dry spells. But I thought the defense really played awesome in this game. The pass rush, I think, took over in the second half when they needed to. They got pressure consistently, forced some interceptions. Kyle Duggar with another incredible pick six in the game, which turned the game. And I think overall, offensively, the O-line, a little shaky, a little bit expected. Christian Wilkins, I thought, had a great game for Miami, getting some pressure on Mac, but I think Mac was able to do enough. This was actually one of those games where the Patriots allowed Mac to throw the ball down the field, and that was more of the game plan today as opposed to throwing these little dink and dunk screen passes and running the ball heavy. This was more of a pass-heavy script. The Dolphins were going to blitz. They knew it, and New England tried to make some big plays down the field. Some of them resulted in PIs. Some of them resulted in catches, but New England was able to make enough happen. And I think that's a good sign moving forward. This was a nice performance for the Patriots. Overall, again, not perfect, but overall, if you're looking for this team to potentially pull off that playoff spot, I think there was a lot of positives to take from this game, especially considering what the defense was able to do against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle without some of their cornerbacks. So big performance. New England gets the dub, and let us know what you guys think in the comments about each and every one of these games, and let us know your reactions. Also, don't forget to spike the like button. But a lot of people, very much all over Mac all year long, and I think he made enough of the throws, enough of the plays to make it happen. Also nice to see Tyquan Thornton score a touchdown. All right, getting to the next game that I was very much paying a close eye towards. We had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. A game that did not start the way I wanted it to start, Dilly Vanilli. The Carolina Panthers went up 14-0 in the game. I think they had a 2-score lead entering the fourth quarter, as seemingly every team that plays the Bucs does. But the story of the game, as you see in the thumbnail, as you see in the title, it's TB12. It's Tom Brady. It's the GOAT. When he needs it the most, the best performance all season long. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 and a rush. 3 passing, 1 rushing. And an incredible game by Mike Evans, your boy, Dilly Vanilli. Chris Godwin over 100 yards. Defensively, not the best game, but they made some clutch key plays, especially interceptions, fumbles, some turnovers from Sam Darnold, as we broke down in that pick show, that were provided the difference. Dilly, did you see any of this game, and what were your thoughts of the Bucs picking up the win and clinching the NFC South?
Yes, I was very interested in this game as a Cowboys fan because of the implications that they most likely will face the winner of the NFC South. So I was looking forward to this one. Like you said, Panthers came out hot. They were able to get 2 touchdowns, and they had a lead for 3/4 of the game. But the game does not end after 3, Mitch. It ends at 4. And you know who's best in the fourth quarter? It's the man Tom Brady himself. Best performance of the year by far. It looks like it was Tom Brady of old, if that makes any sense. Like, it was prime position. And the 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans, it was like a 50-something yarder, then a 60-yarder, and then a 30-yarder to cap it off. I'm like, what do we do? Where was this all year long? Like, this is the connection you need. But they got it done when it mattered most, and then TB12 getting the touchdown at the end to clinch it off and give them a 31-21 victory. So overall, I mean, you got to like what you saw from the Bucs. If this is going to be more of what they're able to bring in the playoffs, they'll have a chance. Because, like we said, this season has just not really been them. If they're bringing what they brought against the Cardinals, they're not going to win anything. But if they continue this and the defense cleans up a little bit more, they gave up some big plays. But if they can be the defense that we usually see them and combined with an offense that is potent as it was today, that could lead them to some good success. And then because as a Cowboys fan, since they clinched the NFC South, it most likely is going to be the matchup. We'll see. It's still yet to be determined after this week, and we'll get into that in a second. But if that's the case, it was interesting to see what Tampa Bay is going to bring and what they were able to do to get more points on the board than they almost have had all year.
Yeah, definitely best performance from the offense, and I think they found a lot of success obviously passing the ball, but I felt like once they started to go towards more of a tempo attack, almost permanently going into a 2-minute offense, which has been their most successful offense all year, they were able to attack this Carolina defense. Neither team could run the ball at all. I think both teams averaged about 2 yards a carry, which I think was a big reason the Panthers weren't able to finish the game, because the Bucs were able to stop the run as they typically have done over the last couple of years, and they put more pressure on Sam Darnold to make throws and make plays at the end of the game. And Sam Darnold, I will say this, played really well, right?
He did.
For the most part, especially compared to expectations, right? Yeah. 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have a pick, which was more of like a jump ball kind of punt almost. It was like a deep ball down the field. And there was a fumble mixed in there. I don't know. There was like 2 fumbles. But overall, Foreman having 13 rushes, 35 yards, only 2.7 yards per carry. That's probably the reason the Bucs win the game at the end of the day. That's probably the reason. DJ Moore did have a great game, 6 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Thought he made a couple key clutch third down conversions to keep it alive, to move the chains, to score some points for Carolina. The Bucs certainly missed their number 1 corner, Carlton Davis, in this game to match up with DJ Moore. They had a tough time with him. But, man, Mike Evans, over 200 yards, 10 catches, 3 touchdowns. Chris Godwin, 9 catches, 120. Gage, Fournette coming through in the clutch. And Brady doing it despite no run game whatsoever. That's just classic vintage Brady. And like Dylan said, if they can have this type of offense, it's not going to happen like this every game where you throw 400 yards. But this type of offense through Brady, play through Brady, and Brady's feeling it and he's hot. They're a tough team to beat. And the defense, is going to get healthier, going to get better. They could potentially get Ryan Jensen back for the playoffs, their center, which would also be a big, impactful help, especially to the run game, I would say. So, yeah, Cowboys fans, look out. If these Bucs do show up, it's going to be a good game in the wild card round. Speaking of the Cowboys, they did not play today, but their biggest division rival, Dilly Vanilli, did play. It is the Philadelphia Eagles, who got absolutely ass kicked, handed to them. Yes. Dilly, your reaction?
I was probably as surprised by this game as any game this week, with the exception of one other that we'll get into in the 3:25 clock. But man, I was like, what's going on? I was focused. Obviously, this is the other game I was really focused on as a Cowboys fan, and it wasn't so much about the Saints' offense getting it done as much as it was the defense forcing Minshew to make mistakes. Of course, in the Cowboys game last week, he was doing very well, but he had a couple of costly turnovers, and the same can be said here. It just didn't look like it was clicking as much as we saw in that Cowboys game. And the defense was able to put it together when it mattered most, including the all-clinching pick 6 in the fourth quarter, where, the Eagles had the opportunity. They're down 3. You get a nice drive. At worst, you can get a field goal. At most, you can take the lead. But on the first play, boom, pick 6, pretty much game over at that point. There's no coming back from that. So it was a stunning loss. And one thing that I think this proves more than anything, I know Minshew played well against the Cowboys, but I think you need Hurts. You got to have Hurts to run this offense because he makes this team so much better across the board. And I think this game showed it more than anything. You need to have a potent offense. Miles Sanders didn't really do much on the ground today. So it was putting more pressure on Minshew to get throws out there, and the Saints defense was able to corral that more than anything else. And, their offense was subpar, I think, but it got the job done. And, Eagles, lost 2 in a row. I think there's at least a little bit of worry after this game with, not even clinched the NFC East yet. There's still one more game that can happen. I don't think that's going to change just because the Giants have their spot clinched, but you never know.
Yeah, I think you have to be worried if you're an Eagles fan. I think, like we discussed on the picks video, there's teams that peak too early. I think Miami was one of them. I think Philadelphia, seemingly another, where defense was hot, offense was hot, everything was meshing, everything was working. We've seen the defense not have good performances. Like we said, they play better at home. They played Andy Dalton. They played the Saints. They're expected to play better here. They did have 6 sacks. But their offense let up 6 sacks in this game. That's a very low-key, don't overlook that stat. I believe Lane Johnson got hurt last week. That's a massive loss to them. And 6 sacks on the board. This is a Saints defense that we knew had potential, but it's been dealing with injuries all year long. Marshawn Lattimore back in this game, obviously huge presence. The D-line dominated for the Saints, caused some issues, and I thought the Saints played a really great game in this one, even though they're not going to go anywhere. I think they showcased, what we thought their defense could have been this year if they maybe had a little bit more luck. In terms of Philadelphia, it's going to be tough because I'm not sold on their defense. Like, I feel like if you have a good quarterback in there, like let's say you play Dak again, or you play Brady, or you play Rodgers maybe even, or you play one of these passing offenses, I feel like they can pick you apart through the passing game still. I still feel that's a weakness. But Jalen Hurts is a big X factor. It's obviously big asterisk next to it. You don't really know what would happen if Jalen Hurts were in there. He definitely changes it because of the run threat that he brings. But I don't know, man. Eagles, I would have said, yeah, for sure they're going to the NFC Championship last week. Now, with 2 losses in a row in 2 different ways, I'm seriously questioning it with whoever they match up with in the second round. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, concerning. Anything else on that game?
It's not confirmed that they're going to just get that first seed, if you will. I'm not saying
they'll get it because the Giants are going to rest everybody. I would very much be shocked.
I would assume so, but you never know. Division maybe want to hurt them out. You never know.
Yeah. Speaking of the Giants, I do think we should just touch on that real quickly. That perhaps their best performance of the entire season, 38-10. This is a Giants team that's been winning games, grinding it out, running the ball, kicking field goal, finding a way in the fourth quarter, not making mistakes. They just blew the doors off the Colts. Obviously, the Colts are a disaster. They have Jeff Saturday as their coach. I mean, the guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He does less on a game day than Dilly Vanilli does, eating his chicken. But
yeah, where's my chicken at?
I feel like Daniel Jones, man, somebody that people have been critical of, had a phenomenal game. I feel like he's had a great season overall. When you talk about the offensive line struggles, no receivers, he's been able to overcome it. He's been able to make plays. This game, 19 for 24, 177, 2 touchdowns, 11 rushes, 91 yards. I mean, that's incredible. The 4 touchdowns total. Daniel Jones playing his best football of his career. And I think this performance and what he's been able to overcome to get this team into the playoffs, leading the way, I think has bought him more time as that franchise quarterback, which I don't think enough people are talking about. Do you have anything to say about Daniel Jones?
Well, real quickly, first off, I don't know how you figured out I was eating chicken today. That's fine.
I just know.
He just knows. Second, like you said, Daniel Jones, pretty much the best game of his career. He was able to strike with his receivers when it was hot. And then the run game. I mean, 9 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. That we know that he's had that run game, but he's able to get it done. He did more than Saquon today. So
he did.
That is something that should be a point to be said going forward. And as a 6 team, I don't think this team is particularly threatening in a way, but they're low key, if that makes sense. This could be a team that, given the right circumstance, they might be able to get a playoff win in here if they do well enough. And I think their coaching is really an X factor in all of that. But you know what? Great performance.
I totally agree. I think the coaching gives them a chance versus, especially a team like Minnesota. We'll transition to Minnesota. If it was the Niners, I'd be like, maybe they're just outmatched. Like, Niners are too talented. Right. But the Vikings, I mean, they don't have so much more talent. I mean, we saw that game already. It was very close, and it was in Minnesota, and could have went either way. And the way that the Giants, I just feel like as an all-around team, I feel like they're getting more out of their passing game. Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins, like we discussed, they kind of know who to target now. They're not trying to put in Kenny Golladay to throw him targets. They're not trying to shove some receiver in there that doesn't deserve to be on the field. Obviously, Saquon can win a game. And then defensively, they just seem to make plays. They create pressure. They create havoc. I mean, the Giants are an interesting team, and I feel like with the game plans they can bring, it's going to be intriguing. Speaking of the team they could potentially face as that 3rd seed, the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry, Colts fans, we won't talk about you right now. We got plenty of the offseason to talk about your shit show.
Plenty of time.
we got the Vikings and the Packers, and the Vikings. I know you're a semi number 2 team Vikings fan there, Dilly Vanilli. You got a lot of family in Minnesota, and you ride with them consistently. Just give me your thoughts on this absolutely gross, disgusting performance by the Minnesota Vikings today.
Yeah, I wish I could be on here and say, you know what, it wasn't that bad, guys. It was a loss. It was hard fought. No, it was an embarrassment. It was terrible. I said on this, on Pick'em on Wednesday that the Vikings go to win because they want to take a NFC North team out of the playoffs. And what did they do? They completely let the door open. They said, here you go. Would you like a spot? You can have it. It's right there. Take it. I'm like, come on, man. There was big things right out of the gate.
Oh.
When you're set up at the Packers 1-yard line, and all you do is get a field goal. You get a field goal after that. Come on now, 3 plays, you couldn't get it done. Very next play, 105-yard kick return. You've already set yourself up behind the 8 ball at the jump. You can't do that. You need to have better production at the start. And of course, the Vikings, for some reason this year, love to play in the second half and not the first half, but it really bit them this time because the Packers were able to strike when it's hot and pretty much got touchdowns across the board in the first half, ending off with that touchdown to Tanyan to end the second quarter. And at that point, it was 24-3. I'm like, okay, we'll see how they do coming out of halftime. Maybe if they get a stop and get a touchdown, they can get rolling. And then the fumble right there at the third quarter on the Vikings' first possession killed it. So the Vikings are a team that, can win big games, but they have also shot themselves in the foot quite a bit this season. And I don't know. Again, as a Vikings fan, I want to be like, yeah, let's go. But am I really scared? If I'm a different team, is any team really scared to play them? I don't think so. I can't think of one team that's going to get the opportunity to play them and be like, we're really scared or nervous to see you. I think any of the other teams right now, even Tampa Bay, if they had the performance they had today, they're getting a little bit hot. I could be a little bit nervous to play them. As a Cowboys fan, I am a little bit. But all these other teams, I'm nervous. For them, not really.
Yeah. The Vikings, and here's the thing about this performance. Their defense, I don't want to say it was good. I'm not saying it was good. But the Vikings defense was not the reason they lost this game. The Packers were up 14-3, 17-3, and the Packers offense did nothing to get there. Literally nothing.
Yeah, it was a pick six and a kickoff return. And they didn't do anything.
They did nothing. And that's the Packers' perfect game script because they get up in a game, and then what are the Packers actually good at? Running the ball. So they just start running the ball, and the Vikings couldn't stop it whatsoever. And Aaron Jones had a huge day. Oh, what do you know? Give Aaron Jones the ball. It actually works, Matt LaFleur.
It's mind-blowing.
It's incredible. But yeah, I thought Rodgers actually, with the limited work, 15 for 24, 159, 1 touchdown, only sacked once, but I thought he threw the ball extremely well as he's thrown it in a while. Because last week, I didn't think he played well, and they won the game against Miami. I thought today he didn't have to play well, but he made a lot of throws that were pretty impressive for me personally. Receivers, nobody really stood out. Tanyan had a touchdown. Lazard had a few catches. But, I think the story of the game is the Packers' defense, what they were able to do. Special teams, obviously, that kid Nixon, I think it is incredible. Mm-hmm. But the defense, Jair Alexander, back in form as a premier shutdown corner. They doubled Jefferson a lot, but this is probably the most silent, quiet Justin Jefferson performance we've seen all year. Thanks to Alexander doing the gritty all over his face. And then fumbles, pass rush from the Packers. I think the Packers' pass defense has really proven to be really, really good. And they're turning the ball over. They're giving their offenses extra possessions. And if they can do that next week against the Lions, make the playoffs, and then come in as a 7 seed, as much as the Niners do own them, and I'll still pick the Niners to beat their asses, I do feel like the Packers are more threatening as that underdog type of role, man. So Yeah, a great, impressive win by the Packers, although I wouldn't take too much away from the offense. I would just say, hey, Packers defense, round of applause. And
Yeah,
Vikings, Dilly, I don't know, bro. This team has been
they're
fluky
streaky,
all
man.
year. They're
Yeah,
fluky. They come up with big plays in the clutch moment, but if they go in there in a playoff game and they're getting their butt handed to them in the first quarter, they might not have it in the fourth quarter because it might not be close enough, bro.
you can't start off from behind in those situations. They've obviously 10 come from behind victories. That's not a thing that can be sustainable in the playoffs. You got to get the ball rolling. And of course, I'm going to keep cheering for them, but the enthusiasm level has definitely decreased because of their performance today. Not good.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next? We did get a Lions comment. So quickly, Lions won 41-10, Dylan. I thought this game was maybe going to be a little close. Like I thought,
Yeah.
NFC North game. But the Lions came out and after getting destroyed last week by Carolina and allowing an embarrassing performance of 300 and something rushing yards allowed, this week they win 41-10. I just don't really understand this team. I will favor the Packers to beat them in Lambeau next week. I will, but I wouldn't say that it's going to be a blowout. I wouldn't say that it's going to be an easy decision. I do think that's going to be a great game and a close game. But I mean, I didn't really get to see much of this game, so this is going to be something I'm going to have to look into. Dylan, did you happen to see anything from the Lions' performance today?
I caught a little bit of it, not as much as I would have wanted to, but yeah, we both talked about how this was close, and the line when we saw it on Wednesday was like, oh, that's tempting. It's going to be right around that point, but then 41-10. Every week, I feel like we get a new Lions team. 1 week you got this, 1 week you're going to get that, and that's why they're 8-8 right now going into the last week of the season. One game to go against the Packers. That's going to be interesting, very fun. That might be the Sunday night flex. I don't know. I think it's between 1 and 2 games.
That
That could
would
be the one.
the right choice, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And of course, Lions fans getting an opportunity to try to make the playoffs. I think people would want to see that. So I'm hoping for that. But yeah, at the very least is a better and more positive performance than they had last week against the Panthers.
Absolutely.
And if you want to get into that with 1 week to go, that's what you need was this one right here. So good stuff.
Yeah, just looking at the stats, man. Here's the thing, right? Like Justin Fields has been getting incredible hype this year, and some of it's been deserved. But I still have my reservations about him as a passer. And, again, like 7 for 21, 75 yards, a touchdown, a pick, sacked 7 times. Like,
It's bad. It's awful.
it's not going to be sustainable if you're Justin Fields. Because teams are going to catch up. Like, you're a great athlete, you can run, and the offense is going to be built around that, which it should be. But man, the Bears, that's the number one thing they have to focus on is in improving this passing game in the offseason into next year, and hopefully Fields can get better and grow. But I mean, 7 sacks is embarrassing. The offensive line got their ass beat, and the Lions pass rush, I mean, has been playing well over the last half of the year. That's why I was so surprised by the Panthers' performance last week, because I think their D-line's been playing incredible. They showed up in this game, and obviously the line of scrimmage, that's what the Lions do. Jared Goff played well, 3 touchdowns, 255. Jamal Williams, 144 on 22 touches and a touchdown. So they did it all, passing, rushing, sacking the quarterback. Lions, we'll see what you do against the Packers. Packers defense is hot. Lions are playing well. That's going to be a great game. All right. So, in terms of the rest of the games, what else stood out? I mean, the Chiefs barely squeaked by the Broncos, which was weird. Again, didn't see much of it. It looked like the Broncos were going to win at some point, but the Chiefs pulled it out. Any thoughts there?
For some reason, I don't feel like this is going to impact the Chiefs very much, but it is strange to see this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wilson's best 2 games of the season have come against the Chiefs, oddly enough. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's going to impact much. I just find it strange that, it's this dominant team that wins most of their games, but yet can't have this great of a performance. They only won by 3.
They really have not blown out anybody, Dylan. Like, I don't recall them, like, destroying anyone in a single
Well, and
week.
that's why they're
Yeah.
That's why their spreads are almost impossible to take. Even though I picked them to make the spread this week,
Yeah.
I need to keep thinking about that because they really aren't able to do that often.
Yeah, it's funny because like every time I don't bet the massive spread on the underdog versus the Chiefs, I'm like, why didn't I do that? Like the Texans game, I was like, why didn't I do that? But this week I did, so luckily we got that in there. Another one that I did bet, but then I cashed out because I was listening to other people. I had Jacksonville -4.5. And I was too nervous because everyone was saying, Jacksonville doesn't care about this game. They don't, they're not going to try. Houston owns the Jags, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I get you. I got you. But no, 31-3 Jacksonville. And again, this is the game that nobody is going to talk about, Dylan. But Jacksonville, I think, should beat the Titans next week. Mike Vrabel could pull it off. You never know. I mean, with Josh Dobbs. But I feel like Jacksonville's looking really good as a team. And if there is a Cincinnati Bengals this year, it might be Jacksonville. It might be.
Ooh. If you're making comparisons apples to apples, this might be the team. I agree. They definitely have that chance. And you know what? They're fun. They're young. They're hungry. They want this opportunity. Second-year quarterback, first round, number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, struggles in the first year and then comes in here and he's looked like the leader. As a second year, he's looked like the leader of this team, and he knows that he's going to have to keep that going. And against the Texans, we were talking about it. Were they really going to care about it? They got to come up next week. It doesn't even really matter. Like, win next week, you win the AFC South. But they said, no, let's go ahead and show the rest of the league that we're not just going to mess around here and play 60 minutes of unmeaningful football. We're going to win in dominating fashion. So 31-3 overall. I mean, I'm looking forward to this team. I think a lot of the teams this year, there's not a whole lot of teams where I'm like, they don't really deserve it. They kind of just snuck in there. And I like that Jacksonville's kind of fought their way into the spot and are looking really good at it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Jacksonville's most impressive thing that stands out right now is how well they're running the ball. I think Travis Etienne has been amazing, but JaMychal Hasty's been nice as well. And Doug Peterson, a lot of credit to him for how he's turned this team around. They went from embarrassment to legit potential like underdog playoff dark horse team. So good for them. Falcons and Cardinals, nobody cares. Commanders and Browns, literally nobody cares. So moving on to Seattle and the Jets, Jets, big game, Dilly, for my Patriots, having the Seahawks beat the Jets, because if the Jets would have won that game and would have, now the Jets can't get in the playoffs. They're eliminated, bro. So
they're eliminated.
The Jets can still fight their asses off to beat Teddy Bridgewater next week, and New England doesn't even have to beat the Bills to get in. So that's very crucial, which we don't beat the Bills. I mean, unless they sit everybody. But this game, shocking to me because we discussed it on the pick show in terms of, I'm not shocked Seattle won. I'm shocked by how convincing it was. I'm shocked by Seattle running the ball all over the Jets. I'm shocked by the Jets not being able to move the ball or score points against a bad Seahawks defense. I'm generally just shocked by, I mean, good for Seattle, good for Pete Carroll. I've been rooting for him all year. Good for Geno Smith, but it's just weird. Dylan, what do you think?
That was one of those picks this week. I was like, I got to go for it. I got to feel what's in my heart. And I felt Seattle was the team, as we Gronk spiked that like button. Absolutely. Yep. But yeah, I felt like Seattle was going to be that team. And I'm happy that my pick was correct on this one. Sometimes they didn't work out this week, but this was one I was happy to see in the right direction. And yeah, I mean, Geno was looking good first half. He threw 2 touchdowns. It looked nice. Like you said, the run game was very good. Kenneth Walker.
He's a stud, man. He's a stud.
He is a stud. I mean, the way that he's come around this season, he has helped their team in more ways than I think people kind of realize. If you look at the stats, obviously it pops out, but at the same time, he's gotten them that offensive spark that some of the receivers haven't even been able to. So it's really good to see that being pushed for Seattle. And for the Jets, I mean, this was kind of disappointing because we brought up the fact that the defense could change the game, change the complexion of it, and make it to where they're going to win the game, especially with Mike White in a quarterback and not Zach Wilson. But it just didn't work out for them. Seattle was able to to jump on it hot right out the gate, and then just kind of went all the way through. So I'm Seattle. They're still alive in the playoffs, in that 7 seed. It's going to be interesting with a week to go, but they kept their playoff hopes alive with a pretty solid performance.
Yeah, good all-around performance by Seattle. I think they've been missing a defense the last few weeks, but the defense came through, 4 sacks on Mike White. Mike White's worst performance, in my opinion, from what I was seeing. Yeah. Not very good from him. And the run game from the Jets just feels like without Breece Hall, once he went down, they just haven't been able to run the ball the same way. And you look at this if you're the Jets. Tyler Lockett has 2 catches, 15 yards. DK Metcalf 1 for 3, and you lose by 17 points.
That's not good. That's awful.
That's really bad. Okay. Seattle wins it. Next, Chargers dominate the Rams. Not much to be said there, but again, Chargers get Joey Bosa back. Defense is playing really, really well consecutive weeks.
Yeah, really good on defensive front. Herbert was looking better than he has in the last couple of weeks. And, obviously they got their playoff spot clinched, so we won't talk too long on it. But, yeah, it's good to see them have a nice win, because that's what I wanted to see them have after last week. They won against the Colts, but it was mostly about the defense. Wanted to see something from the offense this week, and we got it.
Yeah, the Chargers are a threat. I do still think I'm a little worried about their passing game and their offense right now. Just they're not living up to hype right now, but the defense, if they can keep playing that style against the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, they could give them a tough time. So that's big. We got the Raiders.
The Raiders.
And the Niners.
The Niners.
Okay. Dilly, are you ready for this?
Oh, yeah, I need to hear this. What's up?
Okay. Dylan.
Yeah.
Did you know that the all-time Raiders receiver for yardage in a single season is 2022 Davante Adams?
Wow. Did not know that.
Did you know that the leading rusher in the NFL is Josh Jacobs?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Did you know that there are 2 quarterbacks that have thrown 3 touchdowns against the 49ers defense? Patrick Mahomes and Jared Stidham.
Yes.
Raider fans that are blaming Josh McDaniels, you clowns! Clowns! How do you blame Josh McDaniels? Leading receiver all time of your franchise. Leading rusher in the NFL. Better offensive line. Derek Carr. I like Derek Carr. He sucked. He was terrible all year. You put Jared Stidham in there, and all of a sudden, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, overtime game versus the best defense in the league. You don't even have a defense. Your defense blows chunks, Dilly Vanilli. How do you get on here and say that McDaniels is a bad coach? McDaniels did this. McDaniels sucks. He deserves to be fired. Bro, the Raiders don't have near the talent of the Niners. Took them to overtime with Jared Stidham. Come on, Dilly. I mean, I'm done with these people, bro. I'm done, and I'm still having people say, oh, Derek Carr this, Derek Carr that. Derek Carr, watch the games. He wasn't good this year, bro.
All right, I'll provide the calm take to the situation. I think that the Raiders, I don't understand the Raiders, okay? I don't. They're one of the few teams in this league that I watch every single week, and I see what they do, and I process it, but I don't understand them. Because we went into this week, and I'm like, okay, the 49ers are going to win. They got the best defense in the league. Offense is hot. Purdy's been playing well. As long as he doesn't turn over the ball, they're pretty much going to have the chance to win this game pretty comfortably. Yeah. And then Jared Stidham,
Stidham,
Mr. Backup quarterback for the Patriots, decides, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to throw 3 touchdowns. Like you said, the second quarterback this season to do so, the other being Patrick Mahomes, a top-tier quarterback. How did they do it? I don't know. And their defense is atrocious, awful, garbage. I can process that. I'll tell you that much. They are terrible. But my thing about this Raiders team is they are the worst team in the league at one thing specifically, and that's situational football. They cannot figure out a way to put out teams. I'm not saying that they should have beat the 49ers, but the way they were playing for 4 quarters indicated they were going to win this game, and they didn't do it. And how many times have they blown leads this year? What is this, like the 6th blown lead of like double digits? It's ridiculous at this point. My thing about McDaniels is I don't love him. I don't like him even, but I think he should keep his job, and they need to retool going into this year. They need a hard reset because when we went into the season, the AFC West, and this obviously goes along with the Broncos, who also did not meet expectations by a great margin, but they were coming into the year looking like, oh, this is going to be a great division. All 4 teams are stats across the board, not really realizing that their defense was pretty bad. We should have seen that coming. And then on top of that, just not able to meet expectations. And I remember the first, I think it was 4 games of the year where they were 0-4, but they could have realistically won most of those games. They were playing, from the jump. And then just faltered across the board, found new ways to lose, new ways to get, lose leads, new ways to win games in unbelievable fashion. Watch the Patriots game for that one. But at the end of the day, they come out and they look like this with Jarrett Stidham and not Derek Carr. So,
but that's the thing, Dylan. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like all year, okay, again, what I said by these stats. Jacobs playing better than ever. Adams playing amazing. Offensive line has improved. Defense sucks. We know that, okay? They're terrible. Obviously, it's not all McDaniel, or McDaniels is not completely without fault here for some of these blown leads. But a big reason they have not been able to win these games, especially against the superior teams that they've played, where they've led, is Derek Carr. Again, like I've always been a Derek Carr fan, and you have as well. This year, he just hasn't been it, bro. He just, fourth quarters, second halves, not making the throws. And he's not comfortable in the system, so it's not all his fault. And that's the thing I'm saying is, if you just have that quarterback that makes a few plays at the end, Stidham, a couple turnovers. I mean, I get it. It's the Niners defense. Like, eventually they're going to catch up. Another thing is Renfro and Waller have been out most of the year. They're in this game. They do make a difference. So that's another thing. But the Raiders, I thought, was a great performance. Win or lose, great performance, great fight. I think just the fact that they were trying in this game speaks volumes. Niners, a little bit concerning for their defense. Definitely. Maybe it's just one of those games where they took the opponent lightly and they came out slow and then they played well at the end. Maybe, but it wasn't good. Offensively, they continue to be like actually pretty awesome with Brock Purdy, who makes plays, makes throws. George Kittle's playing well. Christian McCaffrey's unbelievable. Brandon Ayuk is a beast. No Debo, doesn't matter. The Niners offense, I think, is really the crazy thing is, like, everyone's talking about Niners defense. Entering the playoffs, I don't know that many defenses that are stopping the Niners offense, Dylan. Yeah.
I mean, you got if you want to go like, okay, McCaffrey's our main focus. Stop him. Well, who's going to cover Ayuk? Who's going to cover Debo when he gets back? Who's going to cover George Kittle? Who's going to cover these people? Like, there is so much to be worried about when you have to face these guys. And that's why I said, as a Cowboys fan, let somebody else do the dirty work there. Go do somebody else try to take that team out first, because I do not want to play them right now. I think they are really set up to be, in my opinion, they're the favorites in the NFC at this point. I have to put my stamp of approval on them, because even with this performance, I know, like you said, 34 points against the Raiders, didn't think that was going to happen. But I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun seeing what they can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, so that is it, guys. Your live reaction for Week 17. It's been a while since Dylan and I have done anything like this, so I hope you guys enjoy it, and I think it will only get better. But if you enjoyed, don't forget to Gronk spike the like button. I will still be doing my review for week number 17 tomorrow before Monday Night Football. We're going to do a members-only stream for Monday Night Football. I'll have to talk to Dylan about potentially, I don't know what he's doing for national championship, but I was thinking about doing something for that, but we'll see what's going on. Yeah, thanks guys for watching. Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe if you're new. From Dilly and Mitch. Peace.
Peace.